What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Chris Gunther Show. Thank y'all so much for watching. I appreciate it. As always, remember to like and share this video. My special guest today is making so many rounds on social media. The man is going viral. I've enjoyed every single clip I've checked out. Without any further ado, the Chris Gunther Show welcomes producer and creative strategist, Mr. Eric Jones. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Chris. Thank you for having me on the show, brother. I appreciate this.
Man, thank you for taking the time out. I understand you're very busy, man, blowing up all over social media. Congratulations on that too, man. That's incredible.
Isn't it though? It really was a caught off guard, spur of the moment type of experience for me, but I am grateful for it, brother.
Those
Truly.
are the best moments, the ones that you don't plan for it to happen. It just kind of does, and then from there you just continue to go on and go on. You're a producer and a creative strategist. So why don't you go ahead and share with us a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm a music producer. Uh, did a lot of ghost production in the late 90s, early 2000s, for a lot of secular acts. Took some time off to raise my family and decided to come back in 2017 and start producing again. But now I've got a closer relationship with Jesus, and I can't really do the secular anymore. It just doesn't sit right with my spirit anymore. So I am working exclusively with and for Christian artists, or at least artists that are trying to put some positive message in today's entertainment environment.
With the way that this world is going, we all need something positive. We all need something to look forward to. Times are challenging for everybody. When did you know that it was time to pivot? Not even so much from doing things in the secular, but when did you know it was just time to pivot and make sure that you were right with God?
Well, to be honest with you, it's hard not to. As a black man, I was raised in the church, so I've always had knowledge of who God is and um, somewhat of a relationship. But of course, like so many of us, I was pulled by the world and the attractions of the world and all that. But once I got my walk straight and focused on myself and my family and Jesus, it was a no-brainer because I mean, once you get that in you, as you start to see and hear the messages that are put out in the world today, it's either going to attract you or repel you. And it just started to repel me more. So I figured I've given my talents to the world before. Now it's time to give them back to God. So much so that that's my hashtag.
What was it about the world that you felt was starting to pull you in and you said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore?
That's a great question. Um, I would have to say just uh, a feeling of not being able to connect with what the current trends and thought processes of the world started to be. Everything started to become more self-centering and more self-aggrandizing. It just rubbed my spirit wrong, I guess, if I could say it that way. And so once you have that and you feel that pull, you have to make a decision. Either you're for God or you're for the world. And I've had some things happen to where God made himself undeniably plain to me. Matter of fact, let me tell you the story really quickly. Um, I have an older son that I taught music production, and he actually started to display a skill for rapping and making his own beats and became an artist in his own right. Um, and really talented though. He had an amazing light that drew people in. His fan base grew. I mean, he was really on the verge of becoming a really successful independent artist. But somewhere along the way, and I'm not sure how it happened to this day, um, he decided to get involved in the occult, in Satanism. And we had multiple conversations about it, and I told him, that's not where I'm from. That's not where your family's from. So if this is a walk you're going to do, I'm not rejecting you, but I can't contribute to it. And so I, in a very making the band type of way, I snatched cords out the wall and disassembled the studio immediately. And long story short, um, after that happened, I started to have him come back by just so I could talk to him about it. And he started to tell me about the different entities that they worship and deal with in the branch of Satanism that he was becoming a part of. And again, being a Christian man, raised in the church, and have finally gotten my walk together with Christ. After we would have these conversations, I would immediately pray and ask for God to put the blood of Jesus on these entities and bind them in their power and whatnot. And so after about a week of doing this, my son calls me out the blue and says, "Hey, Dad, I need to talk to you about something really serious." Okay. He comes over and he starts to tell me that I need you to stop doing what you're doing. Okay, well, you're gonna have to tell me what you're talking about because I never shared with him what I was doing. And he said, just straight out, Dad, it's what you're praying for. It's causing me problems. When you call these entities up and they can't do what they do, they come back on the sender. And he's telling me about all these things that he's going through. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, maybe that's an indication that you shouldn't be doing this. But either way, I'm more concerned about your soul than your comfortability. So I'm not going to stop. He left upset. And about a week after that, I'm driving home from work. And just to condense the story, um, I had an incident happen where a large, almost 3 foot long piece of metal came rocketing through my windshield. And by the grace of God, it came in like a spear, turned in midair, laid on my lap. So I walked away from that with not a bruise or a scratch, but I felt like the two were connected. And so after that, it really became apparent to me that, okay, I need to fight in this situation. So at this point, I decided, well, I'm no longer going to even entertain secular music. From this point on, I am giving my talents back to God. And that's what I've been doing as far as music production ever since that happened. And after this, I'll send you the links so you can see the video up on YouTube. It actually went viral as well. I think about 15 million views of that video
The
on
mo-
YouTube.
One of the most powerful lessons that all of us are gonna have to learn at some point is the lesson of accountability. Because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, what you do for God will ultimately last, and He will hold you accountable for what you did with the time that He preciously granted to you. You made a decision. I'm not going to waste any more time. Was that a
Exactly.
challenging decision to make?
No, it wasn't a challenging decision. And maybe because I had such a, upfront confrontation with this situation, it was a no-brainer for me. And it's something I've led with my whole chest.
Nothing wrong with it. We live in a generation now, man, where people are so fickle and nobody is really standing 10 toes down. One minute somebody is saying this, the next minute somebody is saying that. But if you know within your heart what you should be doing and you stand 10 toes behind it, hey, my thing is I give a lot of respect for that too, though, because, growing up in church my entire life and I'm still heavily impacted with it. A lot of people I know walked away from it because they said I don't want to do this anymore because life happens to us all and we all will
Hmm.
have some type of, stress and drama. But at the end of the day, once you're rooted, you are rooted. You grew up in church your whole life and now it's coming full circle. How much peace do you have now?
Oh my God, I can't tell you. With everything that's going on, all these political issues that are happening and all the racial issues that are happening, I really have developed, and I can't say it's an internal thing, it came externally. Uh, I don't feel like I'm held hostage to it. So I was having a conversation with a friend, and we're talking about the Trumps and all these things, and he's just really upset about all the different choices Trump has made and this, that, and the
Mm-hmm.
third. And I told him, I said, well, if you put your faith and your hope for a future in this man, then you're bound to that.
That's right.
But I've already removed myself from that equation. My faith and hope is in Christ and Christ alone. So because of that, I'm a protected spectator in everything that's going on. I hate to see the world going the way it is, but because of who I'm connected to and who he is, I'm always going to be okay. I'm always going to have food on my table. I'm always going to have clothes on my back, shelter. I'm always going to have divine protection and safety for myself and my family because I believe that is his word and his promises can't fail. And that is how I'm living, and that is what has happened to me. So to answer your question, it's a sense of peace that I can't really even explain to someone. You just have to experience it for yourself. Like I'm watching the news and I see it and I hear it, but I don't have that fear. I don't have the fear of what's going to happen next and how am I going to make it because I already know whose I am and what his promises are. So it's a piece I can't explain, but I really wish more people would take the time to divest themselves from what the news and everything is telling us and reinvest themselves into what the promises are that we've been given freely in grace, you know?
We all are gonna need grace. We all are gonna need some serious wisdom. And what you had
Mm,
just said was powerful. And it also hits on the fact that there really is a supernatural peace that will happen that really does surpass the human mind. You know, we can only think
mhm.
on a certain level, but that's why we serve the God of all. And to me, that's the coolest thing. You were able to navigate. Yes, you worked with a lot of great artists back in the day, but you got other things that are getting ready to come up. So why don't you go ahead and share with us just a little bit, not everything, because you know you got to keep it, got to make sure that we come back. But you share with us just a little bit about what you got in the works.
Well, right now there's an amazing artist named Nyota Parker. She's out of Montreal, Canada, I believe, by way of South Africa. An incredible singer, rapper, and I love her message. Um, Her most recent single is called Soulless. You can look it up. It's on all the streaming services. But I was attracted to the honesty of her message, and she's a PK. For
Yes,
those that might
sir.
not know, that's Preacher's Kid. And so I love the fact that she's courageously trying to get the message out, but in her own way and with her own voice. And so I have a beat packet of 5 tracks that I'm currently working on for her. And I'm very excited about where her career is headed. There's another young lady out of Atlanta named Kawani, that is Kawoni. Totally wild spelling for that. But another up and coming incredible singer, incredible dancer, and she also loves the Lord and is trying to put that message out. So I have a beat pack of 5 tracks for her as well. So once I can stabilize some of these things that are going on and get back to that, I'll be sure to get those to those young ladies so that they can go ahead and push their projects out. And yeah, when that does happen, I'll make sure I circle back to you so I can keep you in the loop, Chris.
Yes, sir.
And let's see, the other thing outside of that is I'm also, well, you know what? Let me let you drive the ship. You go
Hey man,
ahead,
I've
Chris.
been enjoying. Go ahead, and talk. This I enjoy conversations like this where, and I appreciate that because I've been blessed to do a lot of these, and I don't take it for granted. I love when my guests share the things that they have going on because y'all make my job so much easier. You know, yeah, it's my show, but y'all are the guests. The guests tune in to hear y'all, not so much hear me. But I'll go ahead and keep the ship steering. What is the joy you get when you're working with an artist that is just as hungry as you are?
It's an indescribable feeling when you literally can reach into the ether and create something that didn't exist before, but it's such a great piece of art that once you hear it, you're like, how did this not exist before? And so, especially when I create a track and I feel it deep in my soul, like I love the way it sounds, I love the movement of it, and I share that with an artist, and it inspires them. And all of a sudden now they've put words and texture to the emotion that I had when I made the track. And just when that synergy comes together and the actual piece of art is born, so to speak, it's an indescribable feeling. It's a high like no other, to be honest with you.
How important is the synergy between the artist and the producer?
Oh, it's extremely important. It's extremely important. You kind of both have to be on the same page with what the vision is. If not, then you're fighting against each other. And oftentimes, if you aren't on the same page, the art doesn't come out as good as it could. So it's very important to know the artist that you're dealing with and make sure that your messages align. And that kind of removes any of the static that might be in the process of communication. And that's when you got clear communication and a shared vision, it's easier to marry the talents together and actually produce something special.
In a sense, you have to be equally yoked.
You know, that is interesting that you put it that way because I guess in a way it is a marriage. You are marrying your talents with the talents of that artist to produce something new, a one flesh type of situation, I guess you could say. So, I'm going to run with that, Chris. I like that analogy.
That's what I'm here for. That's what y'all got me here for. Well, I've definitely enjoyed this conversation. Before we go ahead and pivot off, because I understand you're a very busy man. You're producing, you're going viral almost every moment, which congratulations on that. Even with all of the things that you have been able to accomplish, there is always something that makes you feel like, you know what, I need to do a little bit more. How have you
Mm.
been able to kind of hone that down and be grateful for where you are?
Well, if you're a perfectionist, you're always going to have that internal pressure. There's oftentimes I'll make a track and I think it's knocking, but it's like I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like it's missing something. And oftentimes I'll find that once I clue the artist in, they're like, no, it's missing. The only thing it's missing is me. You don't need to add another tone on the bass line. You don't need another sub melody. This is great. Let me add it. Let me do what I want to do, what it's making me feel to do. And so I've learned that sometimes you can't overthink. Sometimes you have to exist in the now. And pretty much that's what Jesus told us to do. You're not supposed to worry about tomorrow. You can't add an hour to your life worrying about what's coming next. But if you exist in the now and you do what you're called to do in the now, you really can't go wrong. And that's what I've had to learn and mature into and rest in. And luckily enough, I'm able to pass that message on to the various people I'm working with in terms of the music and the movies. And I think that's my mission is just to say his name and speak his truth in these various rooms that he's bringing me into, if
You
that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. You had mentioned you're working with an amazing publicist, Desiree. Shout out to her. How
Shout out
incredible.
Desiree.
I definitely want to give her flowers. What she's been able to do, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes, has been incredible. Can you share with me a little bit about just how impactful she's been to you?
Well, I've always been behind the scenes in the things that I'm doing. It's only with this recent clip that I've been kind of thrust in front of people visually. And so I was really intimidated by that. But Desiree has been great in talking to me and kind of showing me the one, two, three ABCs of how to manage my look, how to manage my social media. And so she's been instrumental in helping me navigate making the most of this recent buzz that has come our way. So I would be lost if she hadn't came to the rescue, to be honest with
Real recognizes real. God always sends a ram in the bush, sends you somebody that can help you to keep on pushing. Before we get out of here, if anybody wanted to connect with you or maybe have you produce one of their projects, how can they do that?
you. Well, you can reach me on any of my social media. Uh, I'm on TikTok, and that is no, that is at Ear Hustler. I'm on Instagram. That is at eTrees underscore Ear Hustler. And just so you know, the eTrees is ETREEZE underscore AEARHUSTLA. So you can reach me there and Eric Jones on Facebook. Before we go, I also want everyone to be on the lookout. There's a movie called That One Summer that will be released across all streaming services this summer. That is the movie that I just recently produced along with my partners in crime, Aaron Stiles, Jordan Kahn, Brian Luna, Jimmy, Tony from Tacoville. And so it's a coming of age dramedy centered around three young Black actresses that are amazing. And it's a family oriented film. Um, Pretty much how this one summer, in the midst of growing and experiencing their hijinks, one of the girls discovers a really troubling secret about herself, and that has to be worked out through the course of their summer, and it changes their lives forever. Now, this movie is set in the 90s, and it comes with an original soundtrack that I am one of the producers on. And it is all original tunes that's going to rock you right back to the 90s, the late 90s of hip hop and R&B. And so I definitely want your viewers to keep an eye out for that. That is again one summer, and it'll be across all streaming services this June. And lastly, just to tease a little bit more about the movie, we submitted it to the Cannes World Film Festival, and we won for Best Children and Family Film. So that's an incredible accolade right there.
That is a huge accolade. Anytime you submit a film for something and it wins, that is a huge pat on the back. And it's a
Yeah,
reminder, yo, we did a good job, but we got to keep going.
right. And for it to be the Cannes World Film Festival, which is one of the biggest out there,
It sure
that
is.
was that was definitely God opening doors for sure.
I'm a firm believer the good Lord can open doors that no man can close, and he closes doors that sometimes we don't need to walk through. But when he opens it up, hey, you gotta be like, hey, you got me here. Cool. Let's keep going. And let's like the old saints used to say, let's just run on until we can see what the end is gonna be.
And that is exactly what I feel God's grace was in the situation that happened between Tony Baker, Kev on stage, and me. The viral clip that you were talking about. Last I looked, that clip was over 12 million views across all social media platforms, and it was once again just a spur of the moment thing that happened. But when God calls your name and He shines a light on you, sometimes you just have to move forward. And so I'm trying to make the most of this buzz at the same time being true to the message that I feel God has put me here to speak on. And so I just want to go forward creating good stories that entertain and enlighten and show the different aspects of our community, but at the same time also echoing the message of His love and grace for us all.
Hey, God is real, and so is God's love. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Jones on the Chris Gunther Show. Thank y'all so much for watching. Mr. Jones, appreciate you for your time today, sir.
Always a pleasure, Chris. I look forward to having another conversation with you soon, brother.